This was a new construction home to be built that was $2.1 million. The application was submitted for a ground-up construction, and there was no issues based on the answers that were provided on the app to produce the policy. So, as it does with Mother Nature everywhere, a major windstorm came through. And the wind actually knocked a large tree into the home and a garage. And reported was around over $481,000 in damage. It was a major storm. And so the loss was reported and the claims adjuster started their process. So the adjuster gets to the job site and they notice there is a new construction home under construction, but the damage that they're claiming is to an existing home. Apparently, there was already a dwelling with a garage that was on the premises, and they were building a second home at this property location. The damage had nothing to the new construction, but it happened to be to the existing structure. That is a major issue. When we wrote a new construction only policy, we were not intending to cover any other buildings other than this one. So the claims adjuster reviewed the policy, and there was no existing structure coverage provided. There was no mention that there was going to be any remodeling being done. So they talked to the insured, and they said yes, they had planned to do remodeling. But at the time of the wind loss, there had been no remodeling performed, but there is no coverage to the existing, and since there's no remodeling being done yet, there's no coverage to trigger for any new work because none had been performed. The new constructed building that was there did not suffer any damage. So they intended to cover the new construction dwelling that was being done. That was correct. I don't know if the insured failed to tell them they were also going to be remodeling. Had they told them that, what should have been done is you start with a remodeling policy, including existing structure. So you got to first trigger that coverage. So where you've got that in play, there is a question that we ask on our application: are you going to be insuring other buildings within 100 feet? And they would have said yes. And then they would have filled in underwriting notes to let us know that they've got a new construction ground up. Here's the value of this structure. And then this much of it is going to be for renovations to the existing structure that was there. And the underwriting notes will actually show that they intended to cover remodeling and a new construction. Whenever you're writing a new construction, look on Google, see if a home exists. That would prompt you immediately to say, hey, are you demolishing this building and now adding this home in place of it? And then that will allow your insured to immediately go, well, no, we're remodeling that. Now you know a little bit more about the information. There was no other homeowner policy written for this property, but at least a homeowner should have been in effect. If they don't plan on doing remodeling, make sure that's intact, and then you're just doing a new construction for your actual second home. Always get that signed application. That signed application represents what the insured told you. So if you had probed them, let's say you asked them questions, so it's just a new construction from ground up, and they say yes. And then all of a sudden this circumstance happens when a loss occurs and we find out there is an existing home there, it's going to be remodeled. That signed app is they represented that they were only intending to cover the new construction, not the remodeling. Protect yourselves.